Mr. Perfect by Roger Hargreaves. It was a perfect summer's day, and on this perfect summer's day, Mr. Perfect was looking even more perfect than usual. He didn't have a hair out of place. Mr. Perfect lived in Tip Top Cottage, and on this perfect summer's day, his house was also looking even more perfect than usual. Not a curtain out of place. I suppose you're wondering why Tip Top Cottage was looking so perfect. I shall tell you. It was Mr. Perfect's birthday, and he was going to have a party. There was a knock at the door. "Perfect," cried Mr. Perfect. "How very kind of you," he said when he saw that all his guests had bought wonderful-looking presents. "Please do come in, if no one minds, we'll open the presents later." Nobody minded in the least. Well, almost nobody. "What's that?" roared Mr. Uppity. "I don't have any time to waste, you know. We'd better make sure we don't get bored today." "Do you think this upset Mr. Perfect?" "Of course not. Mr. Perfect has perfect manners, unlike rude Mr. Uppity." "Oh no, my dear Mr. Uppity, we shan't be bored today," he replied. "First of all, we shall dance." And everybody danced, even Mr. Uppity. But although he danced, Mr. Uppity couldn't manage a smile. Unfortunately, Mr. Clumsy, being his usual clumsy self, broke a pile of plates. "Do you think this upset Mr. Perfect?" "Not at all." "Don't worry, Mr. Clumsy," said Mr. Perfect, and being the perfect person he was, and not in the least bit clumsy, he produced a whole lot more plates made of cardboard. Then he bought a cake. It was huge. It looked wonderful. It smelled terrific, and Mr. Greedy thought it tasted delicious. He gobbled the whole cake in 3 seconds flat. There wasn't a crumb left for everyone else. Do you think this upset Mr. Perfect? Not in the least. Being perfect, he had already guessed what would happen. Quickly, he bought out a lot of small cakes. There was plenty for everybody, even Mr. Perfect. But as he was not greedy, he ate only one. One cake was just perfect for him. Once everything had been eaten, Mr. Perfect opened his presents. He said as many thank yous as there were presents. "Well, not quite. What about my present?" cried Mr. Mean. Mr. Mean's parcel was so small that Mr. Perfect had not seen it. Mr. Perfect opened the tiny parcel wrapped in newspaper. "Oh, Mr. Mean," said Mr. Perfect, "you've given me a lump of coal. How kind of you. It's delightful. If I'd known, I'd only have given him half a lump," grumbled Mr. Mean. "That's it. I have enough," cried Mr. Uppity suddenly. "I'm fed up with you, Mr. Perfect. And do you know why? I'll tell you. I've discovered the most enormous, unbearable, exasperating fault with you." "Would you be so kind to tell me what that might be?" asked Mr. Perfect as politely as ever. "Don't you understand?" cried Mr. Uppity. "Your fault is you have no faults."